So, I think like many of you, I am still in absolute and complete shock from the season 14 finale of Supernatural. God turned evil, killed Jack, and basically started the end of the world by bringing back every single freaking monster Dean and Sam had killed throughout their long, long history. Whew, oh boy. But to me, this raised one really big question. What about Amara? I mean, they went out of their way to discuss her in this episode, which is weird. Like, really, really weird. I mean, God essentially got through to Amara by giving this whole speech about how there was beauty in creation and that life had value and blah, 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 blah. But that's literally the exact opposite of what he's doing now. Destroying an entire world just because they annoyed him and starting over again. That is destruction. That is Amara's bread and butter right here. I mean, that is quite literally Amara's domain, so what the freak is her role going to be in this next season? Well, to figure that out, I think we need to go back to the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Wait, wrong theology. In the beginning was God and Amara. They were all there was, that was it. And God started creating, and as God said, literally every time he decided to try building something, Amara would come in and destroy it. And so he created the archangels and sealed her away so that she would stop destroying all the stuff. But in order to properly seal her away, he required the mark. Later became known as the Mark of Cain. He gave it to Lucifer, and that caused him to become corrupt and evil, and eventually led to his fall and God throwing him in the cage. This, however, makes absolutely no freaking sense whatsoever. When you realize there's more than one world. So how could Amara have destroyed everything God made if he made worlds before this current world? Sure, you could argue, oh, maybe he made all those worlds first, and then Amara got sick of him trying to create the perfect story, and that was when the whole battle between them happened. But that doesn't make any sense either, because in Apocalypse World, the apocalypse happened. See the problem there? The apocalypse happened because Lucifer fell, and Lucifer fell because he had the mark, which means in Apocalypse World, Lucifer also had the mark of Cain, meaning that Lucifer also battled Amara and was there when she was sealed away. That makes no sense. Which leads me to the ultimate conclusion that Amara is not real. She thinks she's real, she believes she's real, she believes that she is the sister of God, but she is not. She is essentially a puppet. Now, why would he do this? Well, I think the answer is quite obvious. He's a writer, and he fell into the oldest trap of the book, the power creep. Essentially, he kept putting in bigger and bigger enemies for Sam and Dean to kill before finally reaching a point where he said, alright, the only way I can outdo myself now is if they were to fight me, if they were to fight God himself. But I can't do that because I'm God. They have to think I'm great. They have to think I'm good. They have to worship me. I can't let that happen. But what if I had them fight someone who is just as strong as me? Now, obviously, this is true. Amara is nowhere near as strong as God. She thinks she is. Everyone else thinks she is. But if God actually used his full power, he would obliterate her in a second. And I think we even saw evidence of this because, Amara's big thing when she was in power was essentially just destroying towns, like she could make a town go crazy and kill itself. While God can literally change the memories of everyone on the face of the earth with a single snap of his fingers. You could argue Amara wasn't at full strength, but I think there's just further proof that Amara is nowhere near as powerful as God. So this is how I think it all started. In the very beginning, God created his first world, and as we learned from Apocalypse World Michael, eventually, he gets bored with it and moves on to create a new world, and so on and so forth. And an endless cycle, and each time he tries making the story a little better, a little more interesting. At some point he thought to himself, this is all great and whatnot, but I think we need a little more drama here, a little more action. What if I had my favorite son? What if I had Lucifer fall and get into this big, huge battle with his brothers? But how would I have him fall? Oh, I know. I will give him an ancient evil mark, which he got from stealing away my sister. Yeah, now I have a sister. That'll add some drama to the story as well. And then he had the whole apocalypse storyline set in place. He was trying to execute it. And then something happened. The vessels he had chosen, Sam and Dean, they didn't follow the storyline. They didn't follow the script he had planned out. At first, he was angry and tried to make things right, make things better, make it so they did what he wanted, but then he realized they are the underdogs. And them stopping the apocalypse, fighting monsters, all this is a far more interesting story than could ever be told by just two archangels fighting each other. And so he worked this in. He gave Dean the mark, and he had this big, dramatic ending planned for all this, in which Dean would sacrifice himself to kill the sister of God, and then God himself would die, and then that would be it. That would be his big, dramatic finale. But once more, things didn't go as he had planned. And instead, Dean found a way to make peace between him and his sister, which was unexpected and shocking, and God was pretty interested by it. But this wasn't a satisfying conclusion. This wasn't the ending that God wanted. And so he had to have the series go on a little bit longer. But even he said that the British Men of Letters was not as interesting to him. It was because that was improvised. That was something he added in at the last moments. Hell, it's possible the British Men of Letters didn't even exist until this point, and God just poofed them into existence for some elevated drama. Same reason he brought back Dean's mother, just, for the drama of trying to adjust to her and their lives again. Hell, maybe even planned on the big finale being Dean forced to kill his own mother once she had been turned by the Brits. That would have been dark and depressing. But that didn't happen, and instead we got the Son of Lucifer arc, which God intended to end with Sam and Dean killing Jack, killing their son, or maybe him just dying and them having to deal with the pain of it all, maybe trying to do something stupid to bring him back, and then creating a monster they had to kill on their own. But instead, Jack got too powerful, and God started being afraid of him, afraid of him messing up everything, messing up all of his big plans, and so he created this finale, this big dramatic ending where Dean would have to kill his own son, unlike the time Sam killed Dean's daughter. But this didn't happen. The story got screwed up once more, and now this time God was done with it. He was tired. He was sick of it. He said, alright, this is it. We're done. I'm starting over on a new world. Just let this world go to hell for all I care. And, just because you pissed me off, I'm going to make sure you all suffer in your final moments. Because as it turns out, Chuck is a dick. Now, the main hole in this theory is Death, who claimed himself to be as old or even older than God. He claims he knew the darkness. He witnessed the battle himself, but that's not true. Amara said she does not know who Death was. She did not know Death, and Death did not know her, which raised huge questions in Death's entire backstory. And even then, I have to wonder if there are multiple worlds. Is there a different Death on each one, or is this Death the death of all worlds? I have to imagine that God created Death after the battle with Amara, or else Amara would have known Death. Now you might be asking, why would Death lie? Well, God liked the old Death. They had an agreement, an arrangement apparently, and the new one doesn't seem to follow the same rules the old one did. She isn't a puppet to God. As God said, she's always sticking her scythe in where it doesn't belong, which is a very interesting comment when the last Death regularly brought back Sam and Dean for the lulz. So I think that means that this Death isn't the same. She isn't willing to play ball. She isn't as obedient to God as the last one was. And where I think this is all going to end up is at some point in this final season, they're going to find Amara or just go looking for her, only for God to show up and either kill her or just say, did you guys really think there was someone as powerful as me in this world and I was going to let that happen? Revealing that she's been a puppet this entire time. Now, the only real explanation I can think of to make sense of all this is that Amara's always existed, and in each world God creates, he unseals her, creates the archangels, reseals her, and just does this on repeat, but that just makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Is Amara real? Is she fake? Has God already killed her? Because I have to imagine she'd have some big issues with what he's doing in this season. But let me know what you think down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and until next time, peace!